Hello, it's Shannon here. You're probably wondering what I am doing posting a video, because it's not something I normally do, because I don't really like to watch myself talk or look at myself on video. But I thought it important to tell my story. I have a story to tell, and the reason I'm doing this is because I really think it's important that we share with one another our journeys so we can learn from one another. And as I've been going through my journeys, I have found so much comfort and inspiration and just support and understanding from listening to others share their journeys and what they've been going through. So this is me, and I'm going to just jump right in and share what's going on. So, for starters, if you don't know me, I'm 48. I've been married for 18 years to a wonderful, amazing, patient, kind man. I have 2 children. I have a 15-year-old and a 12-year-old. So, I've always struggled in our marriage with the intimacy and sexual part of it. I have suffered with depression and anxiety my whole life. That being said, I've been to therapists for before I was married and all during my marriage, different times, managing that depression and anxiety. Without going too deep in my past, there are some, abandonment issues and sexual trauma, abuse, that things that I had to work out. And I thought that those things played a really big factor in my intimacy issues, and I'm sure they did in some way, but that wasn't all of it. Last summer, after going up and down in our marriage and trying to work through things, last summer it was just getting really, really difficult, and I really I've told several therapists that I really thought I was asexual. I really, really, really did, and had said numerous times, I really don't care if I have sex again. I just don't. It's just not I have a problem with it. I'm not comfortable with it. And then I was thinking, well, maybe I have some sort of high functioning Asperger's, where maybe nobody ever, figured it out with me, but maybe that's why I have issues with touch and eye contact and things like that with my husband, and sometimes in big environments, because I do have a little bit of social anxiety. And maybe that had something to do with me not being my true self. So anyway, I continued to search for help online, trying to see what was the root of what was going on with me. I came across a term called sexual anorexia, compulsive intimacy disorder, those sorts of things. It is, you kind of think of like sex addicts as being this side of the spectrum where they, all they want is sex, and you can go all the way on the other side of the spectrum and totally try to avoid it, and it can become an addiction, an addictive pattern where you are avoiding intimacy and doing what you can to not be intimate. And if you can't be intimate, you're certainly not going to be very successful or happy in the bedroom. And when I say, it's not all about the sex, it's about the intimacy as well. So I came across that term, and I thought, this is totally what I'm going through. This has got to be it. I reached out for support, and there's support out there through SAA, which is Sex Addicts Anonymous. They also have subgroups, support groups, and lots of resources for those that are struggling with intimacy issues. And there's a wonderful book by Patrick Carnes called Sexual Anorexia, which is very, very informative. So I dove into, big self-help, trying to work with what was going on. And because this was an SAA group, they're kind of set up like doing steps, kind of like AA. And so I was working those steps, and I came across the portion that dealt with shame and while I was doing this program, I started learning that, I have to start checking in with my emotions and my feelings and trying to figure out where they were coming from, because I had learned really well to check out quite a bit and just do and adapt the way that I knew how to. So I was doing this and I was feeling better, but still, even though I feel completely safe with my husband, it still wasn't clicking after doing all the things that they want you to do. And, like I said, I've been to therapy, we've been on marriage retreats, we've been, done several Bible studies with groups about marriage, all kinds of things to build the marriage, and still I could not seem to get a good foundation and get it going the way I wanted it to go. Sorry for my hands flying. So anyway, this year we were out, my husband and I happened to notice a lesbian couple at a bar, and they were showing a lot of PDA, and I'm not really big onto that, especially with heterosexual couples. I've never liked it. And I was fascinated by them and looking at them and thinking that, A, I was extremely attracted to one of them, and B, I was surprised that I wasn't turned off by watching them be affectionate with one another. And as I was learning, I've got to check in with my feelings. I was like, what's going on here? So I ended up doing what I normally do and going back online and reading, I think I read 3 different books, probably about 500 pages total in stories about women that have been married and that have come out later in life, and they just shared their stories and their journeys and their struggles, how it all worked out or didn't work out, and how they managed it, those sorts of things. And it resonated with me big time, and I had a realization that I was gay, that I am gay, and I always have been, and I just didn't know it. So on May 1st, I had a long, serious talk with my husband, and I explained this, and we talked about it, and we've been talking about it. In fact, now that I'm me and he knows who I am, our communication has been much improved. Even being able to touch, and if he gives me a hug or him being close to me doesn't bother me like it used to, which is great, but also sad, because I really wished it could have worked, but it couldn't because I'm gay and it's just not going to work for me. We've told our children and some friends and family, those that we could tell. It's a process. It's like you feel like you're coming out like all the time to people. Another reason why I'm putting out this video, because I keep getting little pings here and there about what's going on. So here I am sharing it, not only to inspire, but just to inform others. So we've talked with mediators, we've talked to counselors, and we are going to get separated and divorced. And even though that is a huge change, deal, I'm excited and I'm happy that I'm feeling more like myself and me. There are a couple of things that I want people to know. First off, I didn't become gay because of not finding the right man. I mean, I found the best, perfect example of a man and a husband. He's great. If I were to be with someone, a male, that's who I'd want to be with. And that's, I guess, what happened. So it's not it doesn't have anything to do with being turned gay, or because you didn't have the right man, or you didn't work at it hard enough. It's none of those things. And I did want to read something, and I have to put my glasses on, about a professor was researching on some late blooming lesbians. Great term there. And she talks about how they weren't repressing our true selves before. It's just that without the context of an actual relationship, the little glimmers of occasional fantasies or feelings weren't that significant. And as I've come out now and started to look back on things that were happening in my past, I do see that there were some cues there that I missed. You know, people are going to have a hard time understanding, you know, how you can be married so long without realizing. Was I living a lie? And, you know, it's not a lie until you know the truth. I mean, a friend told me that, and I love that. But you can't underestimate the power of cultural norming. A lot of people in the communities that I talk with, is called compulsory heterosexuality, and you know, that's what we get. And it's hard when you're growing up. When I grew up, you know, it was expected. You know, you get married to a man, and you have a family, and that's what you do. And so it's hard when that doesn't work for you. So I would like to tell anybody that's struggling with depression or anxiety to get help. It's not something to be ashamed of. And if the intimacy issues, sexual anorexia kind of issues and things I was discussing sounds like something you might be concerned about, know that there's so many resources out there. Well, not a whole bunch of resources, but there are resources out there. SAA has a great group, so much support. And the Patrick Carnes book, Sexual Anorexia, that is just so insightful. And if you are like me and been married, or you are married or in a relationship and thinking something's not right, maybe you might as well be gay. Reddit has a subgroup called Late Bloomer Lesbians, and within the last month they've gone from 6,000 to over 7,000 members. There's so much to learn there, so much support. People sharing their struggles, their thoughts, whether they're in the marriage or out of the marriage or not sure what's going on. There's a lot there, and there's a group, two ladies on that group ended up starting a podcast called The Lesbian Chronicles, and those are very interesting because they divide it up and they talk about, you know, it's just not about sex, which, you know, I'm gay, and it's not because I just want to have sex with a woman. It is more the intimacy part and how I want to feel when I'm around another person as a partner. And so they talk about that. They talk about grieving your marriage, which is, you know, something that I'm doing right now because it hasn't been that long. And just how to move forward and develop a community and other little things on there. So look out there for support. There's so many of us out there that are here to share our stories, hope to inspire others. I'm telling this for, you know, like I said, a couple of reasons: to inform some, to hopefully just educate some that, you know, this can happen to, you know, to anybody. It just is. People grow, people develop, they become more mature, and I'm not going through a midlife crisis. It's just I have just become older and have learned more and just decided that I have to be me and I have to figure out what is going on. And I found it, and I'm happy. I feel better than I ever have been. A year ago, I was worried about my mental and physical well-being because it can wear you down, trying to be someone or something you're not. So I hope that this helps someone. Please share if you'd like, if you think it will be helpful. I know that when I found some videos online of other people coming out and telling their stories, it made me cry because you see the faces of others and you're like, oh, I'm not alone. And so hopefully this might do that for someone. So thanks for listening, and, you know, be kind to one another, like Ellen says. I love that. I think that's what we need to do. I'm a nurse. We're all humans. we all have the same brain. We have brains, we have hearts, we have, our own thoughts, our emotions. We bleed the same color. We've got to stop looking at each other at your skin color or at your gender or your sexuality preference, those sorts of things. We're all people. We're humans, and we need to just be better at looking at each other like that. So that's enough. Again, thanks for listening, and peace. I am out of here.